Good morning, everyone. We are Group 8, and today we will be discussing Chapter 14, Organizational Change and Stress Management. So, we will explore what drives change, how organizations implement plan change, and how resistance to change can be overcome effectively. In this chapter, our presentation covers key learning objectives, which is contrast the forces for change and plan change, describe ways to overcome resistance to change, compare the four main approaches to managing organizational change, demonstrate three ways of creating a culture for change, identify the potential environmental, organizational, and personal sources of stress at work and the role of individual and cultural differences, identify the physiological, psychological, and behavioral symptoms of stress at work, and lastly, describe individual and organizational approaches to managing stress at work. So in this slide, I'll be discussing the forces for change, and as you can see, there is a table, and this table represents the external and internal factors or pressures that naturally push an organization to change. So for example, changes in technology, workforce demographics, economic conditions, competition, social trends, and politics. So these forces create a need for organization to adapt to survive and thrive. So in this slide, I'll be explaining the change, plan change, and change agent. So first, let's talk about the change. Change in organization means making something different from the current state. This could be changes in processes, technology, structure, or culture. Change often occurs due to internal needs or external pressures. Second is plan change. Plan change is a deliberate and goal-oriented effort to transition an organization from its current state to a desired future state. Unlike spontaneous or reactive changes, plan change is intentional, structured, and managed to meet specific goals. So, plan change has two specific goals, which is first is improve the organization's ability to respond to changes in its environment. It means organization operates in dynamic environments that can change due to new laws, customer preferences, technologies, and etc. So plan change helps the organization develop capabilities and flexibility to respond quickly and effectively to these environmental changes. So for example, a company might adopt a new flexible work policy in response to changing workforce expectation. Second goal is the change employee behavior. So this goal is a change often involves influencing how employees think, act, or interact. So employees may need to learn new skills, adapt to new roles, or collaborate differently to align with new organizational goals. So for example, if a company wants to adopt a customer-centric culture, plan change might include training programs and performance incentives to reinforce customer-focused behavior. So, let's proceed to the last one, which is the change agent. So, who are the change agent? So, change agents are individuals or groups responsible for managing the change process within the organization. They play a vital role in initiating, leading, and sustaining plan change. So, what say functions sa change agent? So here are diagnosing the need for change, designing and implementing change strategies, communicating and persuading employees, addressing resistance and fostering support, monitoring progress and making judgments, and last is change agents can be internal, which is mao ni ang mga managers and HR personnel, or pwede po siya external, which is the consultants. But their effectiveness depends on their credibility, skill, and understanding of the organization. So let's proceed to the next slide, which is the overcoming resistance to change. As you can see in the table that's shown in the screen, let's first talk about the individual sources. And this individual sources has four, which is the habit, security, economic factors, and selective information processing. So, habit is, mao na siya ang mga people to mga people nga ga-develop og routines and habitual responses to handle their daily tasks and challenges. These habits simplify life by reducing the need to constantly think about every action. When change disrupts these familiar routines, it causes discomfort and resistance because individuals must unlearn old behaviors and adapt new and to eliminate the unfamiliar ones. So this resistance stems from a natural preferences for predictability and avoiding the effort associated with learning. Second is the security. Security is many individuals have a strong need for security and predictability in their jobs and environment. So change introduces uncertainty rather, which can threaten a person's feeling of safety, whether emotional or physical. So when change threatens this sense of security, resistance arises as a defense mechanism to protect the individual's well-being. Third is the economic factors. So changes in job roles, tasks, or routines can create anxiety about economic consequences. So, for example, an employee might fear the new responsibilities are beyond their capability, which could risk their performance evaluations or pay. So, there may also be concerns that the change could lead to job restructuring, layoffs, or reduced income. So, economic fears make employees resist change as they strive to maintain their livelihood and financial stability. Last is the selective information processing. So, individuals tend to process information selectively to maintain their current beliefs and perceptions. They unconsciously filter what they hear to reinforce their existing worldview and ignore or discount information that could challenge it. This selective perception makes it difficult for new ideas or changes to be accepted because individuals hear what they want to hear and reject contrary information. And also it sustains resistance. So, naay tips na to address these individual sources, which is for habit, you can provide training and support to ease the transition to new methods, encourage gradual change and reinforce new habits through repetition. Second is for security, you can communicate clearly about the change, its benefits, and how it impacts jobs. Assure employees of their value and safety or offer support for transitions. Third is for economic concerns, you can offer clarity about job roles, incentives, and protections. Provide assistance such as skill development or job placement if roles change. And lastly, for the selective processing, you can use clear, consistent, and transparent communication that present compelling evidence and involve employees in dialogue to challenge misconceptions. Let's proceed to the next table, which is the organizational sources. And sa organizational sources is naay 5, which is the structural inertia, limited focus of change, group inertia, threat to expertise, and threat to establish power relationships. So let's start in the structural inertia. So structural inertia is a organization's build stability through established processes, formalized rules, and routines. These built-in mechanisms are designed to create consistency and reliability in operations. When a change is introduced, these stable structures act like a counterforce, resisting the disruption to maintain stability. For example, a company's official procedures or regulation might make it difficult to implement a rapid shift in work practices. So second is the limited focus of change. So in organizations, they are made up of many interdependent subsystems or departments. A change made in one area often has effects on others. Because of this interconnections, a change in a single subsystem may be nullified or counteracted rather by resistance in another part of the organization. So, for example, if the marketing department adopts a new strategy, but the production team doesn't adjust accordingly, so the impact of the change may fail. So, let's proceed to the third one, which is the group inertia. This individual, even if the individuals rather within the organization are willing to change their behavior, established group norms and traditions can act as constraints. So groups enforce conformity and provide social stability, which makes new behaviors harder to adapt. So this is especially strong in teams and departments with tightly knit cultures. So the fourth one is the threat to expertise. So in organizational changes may alter rules, processes, or technologies in ways that undermine the specialized skills or expertise of certain groups. When people feel their valued skills are threatened or made obsolete, they resist the change to protect their professional identity and status. So lastly is the threat to establish power relationships. So change often requires redistributing decision-making, authority, responsibilities, or resources. So these shifts can threaten long-established power dynamics within the organization. Those who benefit from the current power arrangements may resist change to protect their influence and control. In this slide, I'll be discussing the overcoming resistance to change and its several strategies that we can overcome rather. First is communicating clearly about the reasons and benefits of change. Second is participation or encouraging participation to involve employees in the process. Third is building support and commitment for the stakeholders. Fourth is developing positive relationships to ease concerns. Fifth is implementing changes fairly to avoid perceptions of bias. And sixth is sometimes using manipulation or selecting people open to change. And lastly is coercion may be used to enforce compliance. So in the next slide, I'll be explaining the politics of change. So here are a brief explanation. So change disrupts the existing power, influence, and comfort within an organization, making it a political issue. So because people want to protect their current power and interest, change often leads to power struggles and political behavior. So the push for change usually comes from those less tied to the current system, which includes the outside change agents like consultants who bring new ideas without loyalty to existing power. Second is the new employees that have a less attachment to the old ways and more open to change. And lastly is the managers distant from the top power structures who see opportunities for improvements and influence by promoting change.
Good day everyone. Today I will discuss the approaches to managing organizational change. So the four main approaches that organization use when managing change. These approaches are Lewin's 3-step model, Kotter's 8-step model, action research, and organizational development or OD. Lewins explains that change happens in 3 steps. First is unfreezing. This is where we prepare people for the change. Second is movement. This is where the actual change happens. Third is refreezing. This is where the new change becomes the new habit. Example, imagine our teacher wants to move class announcement from paper to a group chat. So ang unfreezing is explaining why we need the change, and the movement is creating and using the group chat. Ang refreezing naman is making the group chat the official announcement method. So on this slide, we focus more on unfreezing. Change happens because of 2 forces. First is driving forces. This push us to change. Second is restraining forces. This make us resist change. Example, a school wants to replace manual attendance with QR code scanning. The driving forces are that manual attendance is slow and sometimes students cheat. Like kanang sulatan niya ang attendance niya yung classmate like nanang klase nga cheat. While QR codes are faster and more accurate. The restraining forces naman are that some students don't know how to use QR codes. Some students don't have phones. And some teachers prefer the old method. Unfreezing happens when the school reduces these concerns by giving a simple orientation and providing printed QR codes so everyone become ready for the change. Next is Cutter's 8-step plan for implementing change. First is establish a sense of urgency by creating a compelling reason for why change is needed. Second, form a coalition with enough power to lead the change. Third, create a new vision to direct the change and strategies for achieving the vision. Fourth, communicate the vision throughout the organization. Fifth, empower others to act on the vision by removing barriers to change and encouraging risk-taking and creative problem-solving. Sixth, plan for create and reward short-term wins that move the organization toward the new vision. Seventh, consolidate improvements, resist change, and make necessary adjustments in the new programs. Eighth, reinforce the changes by demonstrating the relationship between new behaviors and organizational success. Example, a company wants to change from using cash payments to a cashless payment system. They start by explaining why the change is important. Cash handling is slow, unsafe, and causes delays. Then they create a small team to lead the change and form a clear vision. Faster and safer payment through cashless transactions. They explain this vision to all employees and train them to use the new machines. The company tests the system for one day as a short-term win to show it works. After fixing small problems that appear, they slowly use the cashless system more than until it becomes the company new normal. Next is action research, a change process based on the systematic collection of the data and selection of a change action based on what the analyzed data indicate. 5 steps: diagnosis, analysis, feedback, action, and evaluation. Provides at least 2 specific benefits. First is it is a problem focus. Second is reduce resistance to change. Action research is a change process that is based on data. Before changing anything, the organization collects data, analyzes the problem, creates a plan, implement it, and evaluate results. Example, if a store is losing customers, they will first conduct surveys and observations before deciding what changes to make. Next is organizational development or OD, a collection of change methods that try to improve organizational effectiveness and employee well-being. OD methods value human and organizational growth, collaborative and participative process, and the spirit of inquiry. Focuses on how individuals make sense of their work environment. Organizational development, or OD, focuses on improving people and relationships inside the organization. It aims to improve teamwork, communication, and employee well-being. Example, a company may conduct team building activities or workshops to improve cooperative morale. Next is the 6 interventions for change agents are: first is sensitivity training. Second, survey feedback. Third, process consultation or PC. Fourth is team building. Fifth is intergroup development. Last is appreciative inquiry or AI. Sensitivity training helps employees become more aware of their own behavior and how it affects other people. It builds better understanding, empathy, and respect within the group. Example, employees join a workshop where they role play situations to better understand how their words or actions might offend or hurt coworkers and learn to adjust their behaviors. Second is survey feedback. Survey feedback uses questionnaires to collect employees' opinions about problems in the workplace. Leaders then use the result to make improvements. Example, management gives a survey about job satisfaction. After seeing many complaints about communication, they create weekly team updates to fix the issue. Next is process consultation or PC. A consultant observes how people in the organization interact and then gives advice on how to improve communication, workflow, and relationships. Example, a consultant watched a team meeting and noticed members talk over each other. She helps the group adapt turn talking rules to improve discussions. Next is team building. Team building activities aim to strengthen relationships, trust, and cooperations among members so they can work better together. Intergroup development. Intergroup development focuses on improving relationships between different departments or groups that may have conflicts or misunderstandings. Next is appreciative inquiry. Appreciative inquiry focuses on identifying what the organization is already doing well and using those strengths to create positive change.
So, good day everyone. I'm Russell Chiabanyel. I'm going to discuss the creating a culture for change. So, managing a paradox. So, there is no such thing as separate discipline of change management because all the management is dealing with constant change and adaptation. So first is learning. So as we all know, learning is what we would come to think if we are in a organization. So second thing is organizing some task of managing how does the change of the things in the organization. And third is performing. So performing on what does the change on on each of the management. Then, and second is belonging. So belonging to the group of which you are in, since the change of management is not that avoidable. So manager can learn a few lessons from paradox theory, which states that the key paradox in management is that there is no final optimal status for organization. Then, stimulating a culture of innovation. So innovation is a more specified kind of change in a new idea applied to initiating or improving a product, process, or service. Innovation can range from small incremental improvements such as netbook computers to radical breakthrough such as a Nissan electric leaf car. So, innovation may of great help in stimulating culture. Next is source of innovation. So structural variables are the most studied potential source of innovation. So first is organic structures positively influence innovation. So as we all know, some of the influence of innovation is organic structure, which is positive. So some of the organic structure may venture some of its own kind, like that doesn't discuss on others. Then second is innovation contingent reward positively influence integration. So innovation contingent reward. So as we all know, rewards, if used properly, it can give boost to others. So second is innovation is nurtured when there is lack of resources. So as we all know, innovation have a good outcome on the organization when it is properly used and properly resourced. So if there is idea generated and this is a resource allocated, then it might be turned out good. Next is internet unit communication is high in innovative organization. So inter-unit, as we all know, so since a organization have a structure, a complex structure, and the inter-unit communication is much more helpful in generating ideas. The next is innovative organizations tend to have similar culture. First is they encourage experimentation. They reward both success and failure. They celebrate mistake. So as we all know, a Filipino may encourage experimentation since it is an innovative idea of others. We take the risk to make a new and good product or service. So they reward both success and failure. So as they said, if they celebrate in success, they should celebrate in mistake. So manager in innovative organization recognize that failure are a natural byproduct of venturing into unknown. So as we all know, innovative ideas are more risk-taking, a risk than to venture a properly well-produced product. Next is innovative organization actively promotes the training and development of their members so they keep current. So offer high job security so employees don't fear getting fired for making mistake, encouraging individuals to become champion of change. So once a new idea is developed, idea champions actively and enthusiastically promote it, build support, overcome resistance, and ensure it is implemented. So some of the one is if someone make a new idea and present into the organization, they might give them opportunity to show the idea on how it works and how it will be good in the organization. So next is exhibit characteristic of learning organization. So first is there exists a shared vision that everyone agrees on. So since it is organizational, so everyone should agree on what is good for organization. Second is people discard their old ways of thinking and standard routines they use for solving problems or doing jobs. Since organizations have progress, they should avoid doing in traditional way so that they could have a innovative idea to produce on. So third is member think of all organization process, activities, functions, and interaction with the environment as part of system of interrelation. So since as we all know, organization have a lot of its function and interaction, so that they have to build the good communication of each other. So fourth is people openly communicate with each other across vertical and horizontal boundaries without fears of criticism or punishment. So since it is given that idea has to travel in either ways, vertical or horizontal, in interdepartment or in the sub-department, it could travel out without fear or criticism or punishment, since they should open to a new idea. The fifth is people sublimate their personal self-interest and fragmented departmental interests to work together to achieve the organization's shared vision. So people should not be self-interest on this, and they should work for whole organizational structure to organize a shared vision. So what can a manager do to make their firm learning organization, first is establish a strategy. Since it is a organizational work, they should establish a strategy that could work on either individual and on our organization so that it could be harmonized on each other. And second is redesign the organization structure. As I said, the organization structure should be redesigned so that it could harmonize with each other, whether it is individual or in the groups. And third is reshape the organization culture. So as we all know, if we are in a corporate world, we should reshape we should reshape the organization culture into new one so that it could blend in with the other corporation, and so that it could survive in harsh worlds, since corporate organization have different culture but they have the same goals to achieve a profit.
Organizational change and stress. So research shows that when organizations use organizational behavior or OB knowledge, meaning they understand how people react to stress, they achieve better results. So this works better than managing change purely through objective methods like goal setting. So one key point is that leadership plays a critical role. Leaders need to guide people, support them, and even help them to understand the purpose of the change. It's also important to remember that change can be stressful. Employees often feel threatened when something new is introduced. Because of this, organization must make sure that employees see the change as fair, reasonable, and beneficial. Now let's move on to stress at work. In Exhibit 18 to 17, work is a top source of stress. So it says here that financial worries rank highest, with a 64% of people saying this is their biggest source of stress, and work comes next at 60%, showing that job-related pressure is also a major contributor. Next would be family responsibilities, followed with 47%, as a balancing family duties can be challenging. And finally, health concerns, which cause stress for 46% of individuals. Next we'll be looking at this OB poll, which shows how employees rate their stress levels. So when people were asked what is your stress level, the results revealed that 64% of employees experience extreme stress, often with physical or emotional symptoms, and 31% say their stress is manageable, meaning they can still cope even if things feel challenging. And lastly, only 5% report having low stress, which means very few employees feel relaxed or free from pressure. Now let's proceed to model of stress. This model explains where stress comes from and what its consequences are. So first, stress begins with several potential sources. We have here the environmental factors such as economic uncertainty, political issues, or rapid technological changes. Second is organizational factors, including task demands, role demands, and interpersonal demands at work. Third is personal factors like family problems or financial difficulties. And finally, individual differences, meaning each person reacts differently based on their perception, job experience, social support, and personality traits. So all of these sources contribute to what we call experience stress. Once stress is experienced, it leads to three major types of consequences. First is physiological symptoms such as immediate physical reaction, illnesses, or long-term health condition. Second is psychological symptoms including anxiety, lower emotional well-being, and decreased job satisfaction. Lastly is behavioral symptoms such as reduced job performance, absenteeism, and even higher turnover. Now let's talk about cultural differences in how employees experience stress. Researchers have found that the job conditions causing stress can vary between cultures. In other words, what stresses people out in one country may not be the same in another. For example, US employees tend to be stressed when they feel a lack of control over their work. On the other hand, Chinese employees are more stressed by job evaluations and by feeling that they don't have enough training. Even though the sources of stress may differ from one culture to another, research shows that stress is harmful for employees everywhere, regardless of their culture background. Next is about the consequences of stress at work. So when employees experience too much stress, it affects them in three major ways. First is the physiological symptoms. So research shows that job stress is strongly linked to physical health problems. This include things like headaches, high blood pressure, and even long-term illnesses. Second is psychological symptoms. Job dissatisfaction is a major psychological effect of stress. Employee may feel anxious, emotionally drained, or lose motivation when stress becomes too much. And third, behavioral symptoms. Stress can lead to lower productivity, more absences, and higher employee turnover. It can also cause negative changes in habits, such as overreacting, smoking, drinking, rapid speech, fidgeting, and sleep disorders. Let's look to the inverted U relationship between stress and job performance. So this model explains that the connection between stress and performance is not always negative. In fact, a certain amount of stress can actually be helpful. When stress is very low, performance also tends to be low because employees may feel bored, unchallenged, or unmotivated. As stress increases to a moderate level, performance improves because a manageable amount of pressure can push employees to stay focused, energized, and productive. However, when stress becomes too high, performance drops sharply. Extreme stress make it hard to concentrate and make decisions and stay emotionally balanced. So overall, this curve graph shows that the best performance happens at moderate level of stress, not at the extremes.
Hello everyone. Today, I'm going to talk about managing stress at work. Stress is something we all experience, but it can be handled in ways that help us perform better and feel more comfortable in our jobs. First, let's understand that a little stress can actually be good for us. It can motivate us to work harder and achieve our goals. However, when stress becomes too much, it can feel overwhelming. What might be a positive challenge for management can feel like excessive pressure for employees. Now, let's look at some individual strategies that employees can use to manage their stress. The first one is time management. Learning to prioritize tasks can help reduce feelings of being overwhelmed. The second one is physical exercise. Regular exercise is a great way to relieve stress and improve mood. The next one is relaxation training. Techniques like deep breathing or meditation can help calm the mind. And last is social support. Building a network of friends and colleagues can provide emotional support during tough times. Organizations play a crucial role in creating a work environment that minimizes stress. Here are several effective strategies they can implement. The first one is better selection and placement. Ensuring that employees are well suited for their roles can significantly reduce stress. This involves assessing candidates not just for skills but also for their fit within the company culture and their ability to handle job demands. The second one is goal setting. Establishing clear, achievable goals helps employees understand what is expected of them. When employees have specific targets to aim for, it can reduce anxiety and provide a sense of direction. The third one is job redesign. Redesigning jobs to give employees more responsibility and autonomy can lead to greater job satisfaction. When employees feel they have control over their work, it can lessen feelings of stress and increase engagement.
Hi everyone, I'm James Reggie Martinez. So today I will discuss the important strategies for managing stress at work and key implications for managers in work, fostering a healthy workplace environment. First, we have managing stress at work. Stress is a workplace can significantly impact employee well-being and productivity. To effectively manage stress, organization can implement several approaches. So we have first approach was employee involvement. Role stress often arises when employees feel uncertain about their goals, expectation, and evaluation. By giving employee a voice in managing decision, organization can increase employee control and reduce role of stress. Managers should actively consider involve employee more in decision-making process to enhance clarity and reduce uncertainty. And second, we have organizational communication. The organizational communication, increased formal communication with employee helps reduce uncertainty by clarifying rules and reducing conflict, since employer perception play a critical role in how stress is experienced. Effective communication can also positively shape this perception, fostering more and supportive work environment. Third, we have employees obstacles. Some employees benefit from taking occasional breaks from hectic workspace. From week to several months, allow employee to travel, relax, or engage in personal project beyond normal vacations. This helps recharge their energy and reduce burnouts. And next, we have corporate wellness program. Wellness program typically offer workshop aimed to improve physical and mental health, including quitting smoking, controlling alcohol use weight, and developing regular exercise routine. This program focuses on employees' overall well-being, which is crucial in managing workplace stress. And next, we have implication for managers. Managers may play a vocal role in shaping the workplace culture and managing stress level. As change agents, managers' decision and role modeling behavior influence the organizational culture and adaptability to environment changes. Management policies and practices determine how well the organization learn and adapt to these changes. Some stress can be beneficial as challenges related to autonomy and responsibility can increase feeling of the accomplishment and fulfillment. However, negative stressors like bureaucracy and interpersonal conflict should be identified and eliminated. Managers can alleviate harmful stress by matching workload appropriately and responding proactively to employee concern. Early identification of extreme stress is critical, since such as declining performance, increased turnover, absenteeism, and reduced engagement should prompt interventions. Workplace stress require a comprehensive approach involving employee engagement, clear communication, and supportive programs and proactive management. By understanding and implementing these strategies, managers can create a healthier and proper work environment for everyone. And that's what we all. Thank you.